Africa, 500,000 years ago, 3 a.m. Something is breathing outside your shelter. No walls, no phone, no gun, just a stick, a rock, and a brain currently doing nothing useful. Somehow you make it to morning. This happened constantly for hundreds of thousands of years. Generation after generation of our ancestors woke up in a world actively trying to kill them and figured out how not to get killed. They spread to every continent, walked into ice ages, crossed deserts, and did all of it while being physically embarrassing. No fangs, no claws, no armor, mediocre speed, and night vision. A house cat would pity. They beat some of the most terrifying predators this planet has ever produced. How? The predators that should have ended us. First, the scale of the problem needs establishing. Because when people picture ancient predators, they imagine something like a bigger wolf or a slightly heavier bear. That is completely wrong. During the Pleistocene, from roughly 2.6 million to 11,700 years ago, Earth was running a different operating system. The cave lion, Panthera spelaea, was around 25% larger than any lion alive today, had no mane, was built for cold climates, and hunted in coordinated groups. We know this from cave paintings left by the people who actually lived alongside them. Cave lions targeted horses and young mammoths. They were active, social, relentless hunters, not ambush specialists waiting in tall grass. Smilodon had canine teeth up to 28 centimeters long, longer than the distance from your wrist to your elbow, with bite force capable of puncturing the skull of a bison. It did not need to be fast. It just needed to get close enough to do the one specific thing it was catastrophically good at. The cave hyena, Crocuta spelaea, was a larger version of a modern spotted hyena, which already cracks wildebeest femurs with its jaws for casual recreation. The Pleistocene version hunted in packs and followed human camps. Fossil evidence shows hyenas sharing cave systems with humans in Europe, a detail that deserves genuine discomfort. And then there is the short-faced bear, Arctodus simus, 1.8 meters at the shoulder, up to 1,100 kilograms, running at a speed between 60 and 80 kilometers per hour, faster than a horse at full gallop and 4 times the weight of a modern grizzly. If a short-faced bear decided you were interesting, that was your day and everything in it. Our ancestors shared their landscape with all of this, not occasionally but constantly, the way people share roads with traffic today. Fire, spears, and the group as a weapon. The first and most important thing ancient humans figured out, which sounds obvious but is actually profound, is that alone they were prey and together they were a problem. Group living was not a lifestyle preference. It was a survival requirement, enforced by the simple fact that solo humans got eaten and groups got eaten significantly less often. The mechanism works through predator risk assessment. Even apex predators are deeply risk-averse, not because they are timid, but because they are rational. An injured predator in the wild is a dead predator in slow motion. A cave lion that takes a spear to the shoulder or a rock to the eye is now compromised, losing competitive access to resources and becoming vulnerable to displacement by rivals. One bad encounter can kill a predator weeks later through indirect consequences. So predators avoid attacking things that fight back unless no easier option exists. A group of humans that closes ranks, screams, and throws things changes the threat calculation completely. What looked like lunch now looks like a potential career-ending injury. Researchers studying the Hadza of Tanzania and the San people of southern Africa have documented this directly. Groups of hunters walk toward lions or leopards, advance, make noise, and watch the predators back off without a physical confrontation because the cost-benefit no longer adds up. Fire transformed this dynamic further. Evidence for controlled fire use goes back at least 1 million years, and what it did to the relationship between humans and megafauna is almost impossible to overstate. Every major terrestrial predator is uncomfortable around open flame, documented repeatedly in wildlife research. Lions avoid active campfires. Leopards will not approach open flame. For humans, a fire burning through the night was simultaneously a fence, an alarm system, and a predator deterrent. Early humans also used fire actively, driving animals off cliffs using coordinated fire lines and creating barriers to channel prey into kill zones. Archaeological burn patterns across Europe and Africa are consistent with deliberate landscape manipulation at scale. Fire was not just defense. It was environmental control, and every species that could not use it was at a disadvantage against the one that could. Then there are the weapons. The oldest known engineered spears were found in Schöningen, Germany, dating to around 300,000 years ago, made from spruce wood and shaped for aerodynamic balance, showing their makers understood how thrown objects flew. Later came hafted weapons, stone tips attached to wooden handles using plant adhesives and sinew wrapping, documented back at least 200,000 years, requiring abstract forward planning, making a thing now to accomplish a different thing later. Then came the Atlatl, or spear thrower, a device extending the lever arm of the human arm to dramatically increase the speed and force of a thrown projectile. With an Atlatl, a human can launch a spear over 100 meters with impact force comparable to a crossbow bolt, and the archaeological record for them goes back at least 17,000 years. This rewrites the fundamental rules. Every predator evolved to need proximity to kill. A human with an Atlatl is inside the animal's danger zone before it can physically reach them, a problem no predator has any behavioral adaptation for. From prey to apex predator, beyond tools and fire sat an advantage that receives almost no attention: cognitive processing power. Predators are genuinely smart in specialized, narrow ways, optimized for tasks like reading terrain for ambush or coordinating pursuit. What they do not do is build abstract models of the world, plan across long time scales, or transmit accumulated knowledge to individuals who were not there to observe the original event. Humans do all three, and those capabilities are devastating in a dangerous environment. There is a cave lion nesting near the eastern ridge. Stay west today. That sentence, shared through language with people who have never seen that ridge, saves lives. No other animal communicates specific actionable threat information at that level. Track reading adds another layer. From a set of prints, an experienced tracker can determine species, size, direction, speed, and how recently an animal passed. This skill, still practiced among Hadza hunters and sand trackers today, enabled proactive danger avoidance rather than reactive panic. Knowing where the threat is before the encounter and routing around it is a better strategy than any form of fighting. Researchers observed a group of 8 Hadza hunters walking toward lions actively feeding on a kill, advancing and making noise. The lions backed off and abandoned the carcass, not because the humans could have won a direct confrontation, but because 8 advancing, vocalizing, potentially armed bipeds that were not behaving like prey fit no behavioral script the lions had for how this was supposed to go. Running triggers pursuit. Advancing activates a completely different calculation, and that calculation usually concludes the carcass is not worth it. This behavioral strategy was cultural technology, learned and transmitted across generations exactly like spear-making techniques were. If this changed how you think about human survival and ancient history, hit like on this video, subscribe for more deep dives into how our species actually got here, and drop a comment with which Pleistocene predator you think would have been the most terrifying to encounter.